All right, guys, let's get into the questions. Now, you might notice that today I am absent Kip. Last week, he was absent me, and that's what's nice about having a partner and a co-host in Kip Sorensen is that if I'm not available, he is, and if he's not available, I am. So you're getting me. You're getting me solo today. I hope it's informative, and I hope I answer these questions to the best of my ability and give you what it is you're looking for. So let's just jump right into this. The questions for today, I've got a list here, and I think I've got, maybe 20, 25 questions or so, and we'll get through as many as I possibly can. So the first ones come from our Facebook group, and we'll jump right into it. Dan Herezin. See, this is why I have Kip here, is because he can butcher their names instead of me. So Dan Herezin, again, I may have butchered that. He says, what advice do you have for men who are trying to be more intimate with their girlfriends without being sexual? When my girlfriend and I started dating, we relied on sexual things for intimacy. We've grown into our Christian faith together and have resolved to stop those things until we get married in 1.5 to 3 years. I've been struggling to provide for her in this area since she naturally needs more physical intimacy than I do. But finding a balance between being intimate enough and falling back into sin has been difficult. Thanks for the advice. Well, first of all, I commend Dan for deciding to wait. I think it's a prudent decision to wait to get overly intimate with a woman prior to committing to her, because there's a lot of emotional and, of course, physical attachment that comes with that. In the Facebook group, I've seen a lot of frustration and headache and heartache come from getting involved intimately and sexually with a woman that you haven't committed to. So I do commend Dan for that. I think that's a valuable thing is waiting until you are committed fully before that happens. And I've talked about that at length as to why that's the case, and I won't rehash it here. Maybe we'll do that on another podcast. But as far as being intimate without being sexual, I think that's a good distinction. I think it is important to understand that intimacy doesn't have to be physical, that there's an emotional connection as well. And I think women are probably more inclined and prone to be connected that way than naturally men are. But that's not to say that we can't. I know that I have a very deep and intimate and familiar, emotional and deep connection with my wife outside of our physical intimacy. But the best thing that I could say is to get to know her deeply. You know, the more that you know and understand, in this case, Dan's girlfriend and potentially your wife, the more likely it is that you will be connected. You know, you could look at the same thing when it comes to battle, for example. You know, there's men that I went to Iraq with in 2005 and 2006 that we have a deep bond and forged that through knowing each other, through going through difficult circumstances together, through being on the same page and having the same goals and objectives. Now, obviously, it's not romantic in nature, but there is that deep, intimate bond between that other individual. And you can forge that through going through challenging times together, getting to know each other very, very well, understanding what makes your partner tick, what goals and objectives and dreams and visions and things like that they have. But I think the biggest thing that you can do to create intimacy outside of physical intimacy is service. The more that you can serve your significant other, the better connected, the more deeply connected that you are. Now, that's not to say that you are going to be a slave to her, that she can manipulate or abuse your desire to serve her. She should be serving you as well. This should be a reciprocal relationship. And if it's not, then that's something that needs to be addressed. But I've noticed that the more that I serve my wife and serve her needs and really support and uplift and edify her, that there's a deep, intimate connection that goes well beyond what we do physically. So get to know her, understand her, what makes her tick, and then strive to serve your partner. Same goes for women. They should be doing the same thing as well. All right. Tyler Cross, he says, do you have any specific processes or strategies to your family budget? Do you use any software, notepad, phone app, etc.? So this is really important. One thing that I do as far as a system for my family money and financial strategies is that we do a weekly Monday money meeting. And the meeting is very, very simple. It's what income has come in over the past week and what income is likely to come in the week moving forward. Just because of the way that I get compensated, it's important to look at it. Well, I look at it daily. My wife and I look at it weekly. I don't think monthly is quick enough. I think a lot can happen in 30 days. So we look at it every week. what money is coming in, what money is going out. She may tell me and inform me that there's some upcoming expenses that I'm not aware of, or I may need to inform her that there's some upcoming expenses that she's not aware of. And we make those decisions together. The best thing about that meeting is that nobody's in the dark. And that's the most important thing. There's no surprises. There's no guesswork. There's no wondering. It's an open book. We're on the same page. Now, I manage most of the financial decisions because she's just not interested in it. Could she do it? 100%, no doubt. She's not interested in it. So the partnership between her and I works in that I manage the finances, but I include her. I include her in the process. I let her know what's going on. I let her know of expenses and income and everything else that we have coming up. And that's how we do it. Now, as far as any software, we just use our bank app. That's it. There's cool programs like Mint and YNAB, spelled YNAB, why you need a budget. So YNAB. There's QuickBooks. We do use QuickBooks online version for the business and some personal stuff as well. But for the most part, we just use our bank account information and go through that as well. So yeah, I would do a weekly meeting. Again, talk about what's coming in, what's going out, unforeseen or unnecessary expenses to be aware of, roadblocks, stumbling blocks, potential expenses that might be coming up, planning for budgets, whether it's vacations or trips or other expenses like braces for kids and broken arms, et cetera, et cetera. And then use an app if you feel inclined to do so. Mint was always a good program, but I do like QuickBooks a lot. So check that out. Hopefully that helps. The biggest thing, just be on the same page. Just let there be no question as to what the money situation is doing. And then there's so much accountability in that too, right? Like if she knows everything that's going on, then I have accountability in the way that I spend money. If I know everything that she's spending it on, then there's accountability to her knowing that I'm going to look at it. So that accountability is huge as well. All right, Ben Acosta, are you considering investing in the main company, partnering investments? I don't know what the main company is. He says, are you considering investing in the main company, partnering investments? I don't know if the main company is a business or just a company in Maine. Maybe he's talking about Origin. That could be as well. I don't really know. As far as Origin goes, no, I'm not planning on investing in them, if that's what you're asking, but we are friends. There are some collaborations that we're working on, soon to be released, and I'll let you know as soon as we have the details on that. So yeah, a partnership in a way, but as far as a business partner, I don't have plans. They haven't asked me to be. Yeah, just friends, and I enjoy and appreciate what they do. If that's what you're asking, that's Origin. Check it out, by the way, originmaine.com, Origin Maine. All right, Jeff Daigle says, do you have any upcoming hunts? What's your gear loadout look like currently for bow hunting? I know it depends on where and what hunt, just curious. So I just got done with a hunt. I was in Minnesota and it was relatively successful. I was hunting for 5 days. I was out there a little longer. And yeah, it was a very successful hunt. I did miss a shot on two shots on two different good-sized bucks. I hate to admit that, but that was the case. I do get a little bit of a target panic, I've noticed, and I have a tendency of shooting high when I get that target panic, which is exactly what I did on both these bucks. Shot right over their shoulder. Watch the arrow go right over their shoulder, and my hopes and dreams die with it. But I am going to work on that with John Dudley. If you're familiar with him, he's got his Knock on TV. I use his Knock to It release, which is a thumb release, but I'm going to start training with his Silverback release, which is a back tension release, and I think that will help. At least it's supposed to help with target panic. So that's my release. But I did kill 2 does out there, and that was exciting. And it was good to bring meat home and put meat in the freezer and be successful. I was really excited about that. What else? I will say the first doe that I shot, she died within 30 yards. It was a great shot. She died quickly. No harm I shouldn't say no harm. I should say she died quickly and peacefully as best she can. That was good. I felt good about that. The second one I shot far back. It was good up and down, but I shot far back, and I had the nocturnal knocks on my arrows, and I hit her right in her hip, and I was really disappointed with that shot, but I watched her. Long story short, we tracked a very, very scarce blood trail for, I would say, maybe 200 yards or so, roughly, and found a small drop of blood. picked her up, and then I heard some rustling in the brush off to about 20 yards to our left. Looked over there with my friend Matt, and he saw her, put another arrow in her, and eventually we got the thing done. But that was a disappointment, but it was good that we tracked her. We were out there for quite a while trying to find her, and I honestly didn't think we would, but we didn't give up. We wanted to make sure that we found her and harvested her and put her out of her misery, of course, rather than the coyotes eating her while she was still alive. It's rough sometimes, but it is the way it goes, and I did the best I could, and I'll continue to improve. As far as my bow, I shot the Hoyt Nitrix. I usually shoot the Hoyt RX1. The only reason I didn't shoot that is because it's in the shop getting restrung, and it took a lot longer than I thought, so I switched bows to the Hoyt Nitrix. I use the Spot Hog Fast Eddy sight, which is, it operates like a single pin. It's a double pin technically, but it does operate like a single pin sight. And yeah, I pull 70 pounds as the draw weight. I don't know what else you want to use. As far as like what I brought, this was a tree hunt. It was a whitetail hunt, so I was hunting from tree stands and tripods, so I don't bring anything with me. The only thing I bring out when I sit is I bring my bow, I bring my rangefinder. I use a Vortex rangefinder, and then my binoculars, and that's it. That's all I bring. And the bow, of course, and arrows. That's all I bring because I don't want a bunch of stuff out there. So I'll talk later when I do a spot and stock hunt in Arizona at the beginning of next year. I can talk more about the load out there. All right, Chris Rice. He says he is working on becoming an Adirondack 46er, climbing all 46 high peaks. Would you ever consider coming to the high peaks and doing an Order of Man hike? Sure. Sounds awesome. I would love to do that. So, Chris, if you want to get me some details, like let's take a look at it, maybe something next year, but I think that's worth pursuing. Anything, look, I'm all about putting yourself in difficult situations and demanding situations and pushing yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. So this is something that would certainly do that, and I would be interested in seeing what options are available and what that would look like. All right, Dylan Dextrays. He says, have you considered doing 75 hard? For those of you who do not know what 75 hard is, this is Andy Frisilla, a friend of mine. It's his program for building up mental and emotional resilience and grit and fortitude. I'm going to butcher this probably a little bit, but I believe it's 2 workouts per day. It's so much water. I don't know what the water intake is. Maybe it's a gallon of water. I don't know what it is. It's sticking to your diet. It's reading, I believe, 10 pages of a book every single day for 75 days. I think I got all of them. Oh, and then I think you have to take a progress picture. You don't need to post it, but you need to take it. I think those are the qualifications. I've considered doing it, but quite frankly, I have my own program that I use. It's called the 12-Week Battle Planner. It's a 90-day battle plan designed to push you in the right direction. So I think what Andy's doing is amazing and excellent, and I can see that it certainly helped a ton of people. But again, I use the battle planner, something I've been using in different forms and iterations for almost 5 years now, and it's worked well, and I've accomplished a lot physically, mentally, emotionally, and so that's the program that I'll continue to use. But hey, if 75 hard is a thing, then use it. Obviously, it's proven to work, and Andy's got some great information, so check it out. Luke Davis, I'm starting school for business marketing with a VA Voc. It says Voc Rehab. VA Voc Rehab. I really don't know specifically what he's referring to, but will be done in less than 3 years for a bachelor's degree. I've been wanting to buy and own land for years. Do I pull the trigger and hope work will be nearby the growing area, or keep paying $1,000 in rent a month and wait till I finish school and see where it takes me? So there are so many variables to this equation. You're thinking about owning land. If you end up getting work somewhere else, that land is not going to be used. Like, you can't rent it out. Maybe you can lease it out. I don't know how much land you're buying, but it just becomes this, yes, technically an asset, but it's just sitting over here in the side and it's not being utilized. I think if you were going to buy a home, for example, and maybe there's home on this land you're looking at that could be potentially turned into a rental, then that might be something worth considering. But I tend to lean more towards do your schooling, get it done. I don't know that tying yourself into a bunch of land, if you don't know what your goal and objective is, and you don't know where you'll be, might be a misstep. But if you've always wanted land and there's a right piece that comes up and you know you'll have it forever and want it forever, regardless of where you end up, then maybe it's worth considering. I would just say be smart. Just be smart. Make a good choice. Make a good decision. Do what's in your best interest. Don't get emotionally wrapped up in this thing, because sometimes that's what happens. This piece of land comes up and we envision ourselves hunting on it, or envision ourselves, raising kids on it, or whatever your thing is. And we get so emotionally vested in it that we end up making decisions that aren't prudent and aren't wise. So step back for a minute, ask yourself if this is emotionally charged or if this is a prudent, reasonable, logical decision, and then make your decision from there. All right, Christopher Campbell. What is your view on unions and why? I am a union laborer, and I know a lot of people do not agree with organized unions. Frankly, I don't like unions. I think initially they probably started for good reasons, but I think that unions have become the bully. I think unions raise prices artificially for consumers, which ends up hurting industry and commerce. And I think that it's expensive. I think that union dues don't end up being utilized in the way that's most effective for the union members. I think it's a form of socialism in a way, in that there's some fat cat sitting at the top, skimming off your resources and your money, and they're bargaining, but they're using you as a bargaining chip. So, there's probably a lot of union guys who listen to this podcast, and if that's working for you, then by all means, great. But generally speaking, and look, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm limited with my knowledge with unions, but again, I think they artificially inflate prices. I think they bully, they shut down free trade and commerce, and they don't let the market dictate it. I am somebody who believes in free markets and a capitalistic way of operating economics. So I think unions are at direct odds with that many times. Now, some people will say, well, they help their union members by collective bargaining. Well, okay, there's laws and there's regulations and rules in place, and so I don't know that it's as necessary as it once was. That's my take. So I hope it works for you. I hope it's working well. I would just say be wary, and I think every employee should have the right to decide whether they're part of a union or not. And I don't think that if they decide not to be part of the union, that they should be, blacklisted or called out the way that they are. It's definitely some bullying tactics there, and I don't agree with it. All right, Brandon Deem. Order man low pro trucker hat, maybe athletic mesh with a hook and loop, to support the cause. I had a great one for my first ask, but after night shift, this is all I've got. Thanks for doing what you do so we can come together like this. Yeah, I've got a little different hat here, obviously. So this is a constant debate whether I should wear a flat brim or a curved brim, a low profile, or whatever. It's like the topic of debate. It's really interesting to me, actually, because a lot of the times the guys that say, men don't wear flat brim hats are the same guys who say men don't care about their style. And yet these guys seem to care more about it than anybody else. So I don't care what you wear, whether it's a curved brim, no hat, flat brim, whatever. As long as I think you're doing generally what it means to be a man, then you get to call yourself a man. As far as hats, we do have a new hat that's going to be coming out in, I would say, the next couple of weeks. It's called the Ranger hat. It is a baseball hat, a baseball cap. So stay tuned for that, and we've got some other plans as well. Always new merchandise. Check it out, store.orderman.com. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. All right, John Bowden. Here we go. Here's another one. Does having facial hair, such as a big bushy beard, have a negative effect on people's perception of you? I would answer this very simply. For some people, yes, because some people don't like it. For other people, then a positive impact. It's really just who you're asking. But again, it doesn't matter whether you have a beard or not. I love when people, specifically on YouTube, will say things like, having a beard doesn't make you a man. I agree. Nobody even alluded to the fact that that's the case. That would be like me saying, if somebody who I'm talking to has a blue shirt on, out of the blue and randomly just say, well, having a blue shirt on doesn't make you a man. That sounds idiotic because it is. So yeah, some people have a negative perception and other people have a positive perception. And some people, that doesn't matter either way. All right, his next couple of questions, such as future employment, dealing with financial institutions, government agencies, or the public in general. What about hair? Look, he's asking now about hairstyles like mohawks, long hair, etc. What you wear and the way you decide to wear it, whether it's your facial hair, the hair on your head, your clothes, your hat, your whatever, your mannerisms, the way that you present yourself to the public is saying something about you. So you just have to ask yourself, in the situation you're in, is a beard, or is this shirt, or is this hair, or is it a tattoo or piercings, or whatever your thing is this going to move me closer to my objective or move me further away from my objective? And again, whatever that is, just make your decisions based on that. If having a beard is acceptable and you want to have a beard, by all means, rock it. If you don't like beards or it doesn't fit your current objectives, maybe you're in the military or law enforcement and you're required to shave, then by all means, do that. It really doesn't matter. But I think that your style, and when I say style, I'm talking about hair on your head, facial hair, clothes, mannerisms, the way you communicate, tone, inflection, speech, vocabulary. Some guys like to swear a lot. That might help them in certain circumstances, and it might hinder them in certain circumstances. So use your style and your presence, the way that you present yourself, as a tool. That's all it is. And again, a lot of guys will say, well, real men don't care about that. That's not true. Everybody cares about that. There isn't a single person who does not care about the way they present themselves to the world. Even the people who say, well, I don't care about the way I look, will deliberately and intentionally wear clothes and maybe even not do proper hygiene because they want to signify to the world that they don't care, which actually means that they do care. So everyone cares. And you should. You should be conscious about the way that you're presenting yourself and putting yourself out into the world, and then asking yourself, is this helping my cause or is it hindering my cause? And you'll be the judge of that and do what works for you. But yes, having a beard or facial hair or a mohawk or piercings or tattoos or clothes is going to affect the way people look at you and perceive you. No doubt about it. All right, Dwayne Klassen, excuse me. At what point or milestone or quote unquote aha moment during your rebuild did your wife finally see you as the real deal and wanted to have you back in her life for good? I don't know if there was an aha moment. It took time, just me working on myself. And I would say this, when it comes to, a lot of you guys are going through potential separations or maybe a divorce, or you have in the past. And what I hear from a lot of guys is they'll say things like, well, I want to win her back and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z so I can win her back. I actually think that's a mistake, because you can't control her. You can only control yourself. And I think you ought to have the right motives and intentions, because that's going to be more real. And whether she comes back or doesn't, you're going to set yourself up and put yourself in a better position when you do things for the right reason. And working on yourself to win the affection or attention of a woman, I think is a losing play. I think what you probably ought to be doing is working on yourself because you want to become a better man. So it's physical fitness. It's putting yourself in difficult and demanding situations so you can build up fortitude and resilience and resolve. It's living to a higher power, whether that's spirituality or religion, God, or the universe, or what, the force, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. All right, living to a higher code and a higher standard is valuable. Learning, developing skills, advancing in your career, reading great books, surrounding yourself with good people, finding hobbies that are engaging and meaningful to you. The more you do these things, the better human being you're going to be. You're going to be a more capable, more well-rounded, more attractive man. And that might attract her, and frankly, it might not. But either way, it's always in your best interest to improve yourself. Now, as I went on that process of improving myself, and frankly, when my wife and I went through our separation, the reason I started to really work on myself is because I thought our marriage was over. And in my mind, I said to myself, I'm going to make me the best catch for the next woman to come into my life. And as I started to do that, that's what really drew her attention. She saw that I was a man who was growing and evolving and getting better and becoming more capable. And of course, inevitably, she's going to be more attracted to that. And other women are going to be more attracted to that as well. So I don't think it's one moment where a woman says, oh, this is the moment. I think a woman will see that over time and start putting those processes and that step together, and I think just be attracted to that like a moth to the flame. You know what I mean? That's what you want to do. You want to make yourself the flame. All right? Hope that helps. All right, Craig Perkins. How do you stay productive working from home, especially with the kids being homeschooled? Can you dive into your daily routine some? Yeah, my daily routine, and I like routines. I work best under processes and systems, and routines are good for me. But my routine is very simply, I get up, usually about 5:30, and I'll go either work out or I'll go train jiu-jitsu. I'll do one or the other, 5 to 6 days a week. And then I get home about 7 o'clock. We do family scripture study. We do a quick little family meeting just to make sure all of us are on the same page. And that we're doing what we need to do. From there, we'll have family breakfast, and then I'll usually just start getting ready for the day. I come in, I start planning out my day. I use a planner. It's over there. I get it and show you, but you can check it out at, where's the best place to check it out? You can check it out in the book, orderofman.com/sovereignty, and that actually goes into depth on what I do for my battle planning. And then I just attack my day. Now I have very clear boundaries. Usually about 10 or 11 o'clock, me, my son, and my daughter, who started to help lately, will fulfill any orders because we like doing that together. But outside of that, they know if that door is closed, that dad's working. That's a clear expectation that I've set up. They know what that is. I'm done about 5:30 every day. And when I'm done for the most part, and I'm there and I'm present. But communication is the key. Setting the boundaries, establishing what those are, and then communicating those boundaries with the people who are affected and you're affected by is the best way to address this. So being at home is an amazing, amazing thing. It hasn't affected me negatively. If anything, I'm more productive because I can get here and I can do my work and crank it out, and then I can be home and be present with my family, which is ideally what I want to be doing anyway. So there it is. Jeff, Zazzy Say, I would say Jazzy C-A or Say. How do you deal with balance? I work 14 plus hours a day, 8 on and 6 off, waking up at 2 to hit the gym before work and home around 7. I'm active at work and wonder if the gym is just killing me. I only sleep 4 to 6 hours and wonder if I should dial back so my performance at work doesn't suffer. Look, I don't know that working 14 hours a day is sustainable. Now, you might need to do that for a period of time. When I was starting Order of Man in 2015, and beginning of 2015, I would say, I was doing something very similar. I'd wake up 2 hours early, get 2 hours of Order of Man stuff done, go into my financial planning practice, do roughly 8 to 9 hours there, get home, do the stuff with the family, do another 2 hours of Order of Man stuff before I went to bed. And I was exhausted, but I also knew it was temporary, and there's seasons to that. So, Jeff, what I would suggest dealing with balance, it gets hard to be balanced if that's the type of work that you're putting in. Now you're working 8 days on, 6 days off, so maybe you get a lot done in those 6 days off. That's a difficult schedule, but just make it work, And if you feel like you can't do that schedule or it's killing you, then make yourself more valuable, and that way you can demand more money for your time, so you're not having to work as much, or you're making more money. As my income has gone up and my hourly rate, if I were to calculate that, has gone up, then I need to work less hours to make the same amount of money, which is a much more effective and efficient way of leading my life. I work to support my family. That's it. I enjoy what I do. I like what I do, but work in and of itself is not my end goal. My end goal right now is to be the best man that I can be, to be a fully engaged and intimate husband to my wife, father to my children. Those are my objectives. Those are my priorities. And so work supports that mission, not the other way around. And it sounds like right now you're heavy with work, which again might be a season, might be temporary until you're able to develop the skills and the demand for you so that your income can go up, so your hours can scale back. Hope that helps. Cody, I don't know if this is Balo or Balo or Barlow, but Cody says, do you ever feel burned out with the Order of Man? And if so, do you redefine that purpose and drive to keep it through the slump? I have never felt burned out with Order of Man. Now, occasionally on a daily basis, I might think, okay, well, I don't want to make a social media post, or I don't want to answer these questions, or I don't want to do a podcast or send these emails, but I don't consider that burnout. I just consider that just a little tired with the monotony and mundane tasks and things that need to be accomplished. But, I don't ever feel burned out. I'm so connected to the mission of reclaiming and restoring masculinity. I'm so connected to the good that this is doing. I get messages and emails every day from people who are, men specifically, who are achieving promotions and starting businesses and losing weight and reconnecting with their families and engaging with their kids and just living a more fulfilled, meaningful, and significant life. That is fuel for me. So I don't get burned out. And I don't do a lot of things I don't like to do. I delegate those, which is something I've really had to learn and focus on, is delegating tasks and getting good at letting other people do the things that A, I don't want to do, B, I'm not super efficient with, and C, I guess I don't like. And so I bring other people in the movement to help me do that. I've got a gentleman, a friend of mine, who does all of our assignments and challenges and things like that in the Iron Council. We've got Cody, who edits the podcast and puts everything up on YouTube. We've got Chris Gatchko, who runs events. Joshua Laycock is the gentleman who does the assignments. We've got team leaders in the Iron Council. We've got Drew Kachurik, who is our network manager in the Iron Council. Like, I have people in the right places. Sean Jensen, our store manager. So they're doing these things so I don't have to do the stuff that I know I'd get burnt out on. And that way I can focus on doing the podcast and posting on social media and engaging with you guys and being available in a way that's meaningful and significant to me. All right. Artem Kulik. Again, I may have butchered that. If I did, I apologize, but that's what it looks like. I often see the following bits of advice: quote unquote, seek excellence, reject being average, avoid perfection, get it done, good enough, and deliver it. These two statements seem to be polar opposites of each other. How do you reconcile them in your life? So again, the two quotes are seek excellence, reject being average, and then separately, avoid perfectionism and get it done enough to deliver it. I don't know that there's a conflict in those two. I think that you do need to put out a product into the world, whether it's you as an employee or a potential partner to a spouse, or a physical product or service that your business happens to be offering. I mean, you want it to be good, of course, but if it never launches, you're not going to do any good or any change in the world. So you should avoid perfectionism, get it done good enough and deliver it. And also, this is why they're not at odds with each other. And also, you should seek excellence and reject being average by continuing to evolve and expand and grow and change and tweak and I don't know what the right term is, but just refine, if you will, the product that you're offering to the environment. So you can put something out there that's good enough that will get the job done. And in the meantime, you can be working on excellence. You can be working on improving it, and it should be worked on. So that's how I reconcile them is, look, if I make sure it's perfect and that I'm seeking excellence and I'm not being average, I'm just getting something out there to the degree that I never launch, well, that's a problem. I'm not going to serve myself or anybody else I'm trying to help. So you have to launch, and then in the meantime and after and during, you should be performing and seeking excellence. That's how I reconcile the two. That's it for Facebook questions. I think we got through 10 or 15 questions. I think we've got like half an hour left. So I'm going to go through some of these Iron Council questions, and we'll see if we can get through everything. All right, here we go. Guys from the Iron Council. Number 1, John Davies. He's been with us for a very, very long time. Glad John is with us in the Iron Council. Honored to call him a brother. Okay, he says, as per the battle planner, what do your meditation and visualization practices consist of, and where do you draw a line and distinction between the two? I don't really meditate per se. I know that was an example in, I believe it might still be in there. Now I'm a little forgetful on that, or it might be the previous iteration. Either way, I don't do a whole lot of like traditional meditation, but I do visualize. And for me, the visualization process is done on a daily basis. So what am I going to get done today? What does that look like? How am I going to feel? I even did that on the hunt. You know, as I was sitting in the stand and I put, I don't know, 25, 30 hours in the stand over the week, I visualized an animal walking out. I visualized me drawing the bow back. I visualized me releasing the arrow. I visualized that arrow going into the animal and then me finding it, and the joy and satisfaction and sense of pride that I would feel when that was the case. Now, of course, it didn't play out exactly how I wanted it to, but I believe that visualization process is powerful. I used to do that in sports. I would envision myself up to bat, or envision myself catching, or in football, envision myself, making an interception or a tackle or blocking a punt. I would try to visualize that as clearly as I could and really tie into the feeling. And that idea of consciousness, and that's what that is. That's consciousness. The ability to project ourselves out into a future date and time and then bring us back to the current reality is a very, very powerful process. So it's not a long, drawn out, systematic approach. It's very simply, What kind of man do I want to be today? What do I want to get accomplished? What kind of conversations do I want to have? How do I want to be connected with people? And who are those people? And what conversations are we having? And when I look back at the end of the day, what am I looking at? Am I looking at somebody who's successful, or did I fail? So I take 5, 10, 15 minutes tops, and I go through that as often as I can. I also do that before any big project or even a presentation. As I'm going into a presentation, and I have one that's coming up in about a week and then another one in 2 weeks, I will visualize myself sitting down and having the conversation, or standing up on that stage and delivering my words and my message. And that visualization process has been powerful for me. All right, Brandon Stoll, as we're getting into Stoicism, how has Stoicism impacted your life? He says lives. Kip's not here, so life. Okay, so what he's talking about is in the Iron Council, every single month we have a discussion based on a subject. So this month is all about leadership and influence. Next month is all about Stoicism. I mean, we've done every topic, it seems like, imaginable, but we'll continue to come up with new ideas. So moving into November, we're going to be talking about Stoicism specifically. The biggest thing about Stoicism that has impacted my life is the ability to focus on things that I can control. I mean, that's one of the core tenets of Stoicism, is focusing on the things that you can control and let everything else go to the best of your ability. That has been powerful for me, because I used to get all hyper and upset and worked up over things that were completely beyond my control. And it was a very frustrating way to live, because I was always dissatisfied with other people. I was always upset. I was always on edge. And because I've adopted this idea that there's certain things that are beyond my control, I'm much more likely to let things slide, and my mood has drastically increased. My level of unnecessary and unhealthy stress has gone down. It's just been a good thing. So if you're interested in Stoicism, join us in the Iron Council for the month of November, orderofman.com/Iron Council. I would definitely look into Marcus Aurelius's book, Meditations. Ryan Holiday has some great books. Ego is the Enemy, The Obstacle is the Way, and his newest one on Stoicism is Stillness is the Key. We did an interview with him about 3 weeks ago. And then, of course, The Daily Stoic as well, which is a daily read and a quick lesson per day for every single day of the year. But that's what has helped me with regards to Stoicism. All right, Craig Kilbasa, which is a cool name, Kilbasa. I think that's how he says it or pronounces it. How do you come to terms with the fact that sometimes all you can do to help your significant other is listen, and there's no physical way to solve the problem? Well, I'm actually glad that you asked this question right after Brandon, because the answer is Stoicism. The answer is to know that, look, you don't have to control everything. And there's certain things beyond your control. And the way that your wife feels or what she needs from you is beyond your control. So accept that. Accept the reality that sometimes she just needs to listen. And that's difficult, all right? It's very, very difficult, especially for a driver, a man who prides himself on taking action and doing work and getting things done and moving the needle and plowing through obstacles, which I would describe myself as. But that doesn't help in a lot of ways and a lot of times. So I've just come to terms with, through this practice of Stoicism, that's beyond my control. And what she needs from me in order to be successful and fulfilled and uplifted and edified is sometimes she needs a sounding board. Well, look, if you can't just sit there and shut up and listen for 20 or 30 minutes, I mean, you got some big things you got to work on. It's very easy to do that. And I know it can be a challenge at times because you want to fix, but just remember, what you want might be irrelevant. Actually, it might not. What you want is a happy, fulfilled, uplifted wife. So use the tools at your disposal in order to accomplish that objective. And sometimes that means you need to solve problems, and other times it means you need to shut up. And if you want her to be happy and fulfilled and uplifted and be engaged with you and serve you the way that your relationship works, then that's what you're going to have to do. And that's the tool that you're going to have to use. Hope that helps. Jim Barna, what are your thoughts on letting your kids beat you at sports or competitive things like that? When they become teens, do you ever tank it or hold back to give them confidence? Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of tough guys out there who's like, I'm never going to let my kid win. Well, okay, then you're going to have a kid who is competitive to a fault, right? Because they just want to dominate and beat and win, or you're just going to break that child down completely. So yeah, I'm not, my kids, let's see, I was rolling with all of them. All 4 kids, we have like 5 mattresses in the front, and we just leave them out there because we like to do WrestleMania and roll and just play games on it and stuff like that. So we're out there last night. Well, I'm not going to physically dominate all my kids. Like, how fun would that be? Now, sometimes I am, because I can see that pushes them and that challenges them, especially my oldest 2, where they're getting older and they want to like pit themselves against me. Well, I'm going to challenge them. And other times, it's not about challenging them. It's not about that hardcore competitiveness. Sometimes it's just about enjoying and being present and letting them win. Now, I'm not going to make it so obvious that it seems like it's patronizing, because I think if you tank a game on purpose, then a child's going to see that. You certainly see that when somebody tanks on you, and they're gonna find it demeaning and demoralizing. So I'll give you an example of this. Pete Roberts, a lot of you guys know who that is, and I've talked about him quite a bit because he's a friend and somebody I admire and respect. He's the founder of Origin, and he is my jiu-jitsu instructor. So when I go roll jiu-jitsu, I occasionally roll against him and other people as well. But look, when I roll against Pete, he could dominate me at any given moment, at any given time. And I'm fully aware of that. But how does that serve me? Like, if all he did was just like completely destroy and throw. Now, granted, he will do that when the situation calls for it. And I've seen him do that. Like, one night I went in like really, really frustrated about something else entirely unrelated. And he's like, all right, man, let's roll. And he went a lot harder on me that day because he recognized that's what I needed. And then there's other days where he lets me try things to a degree, and then he submits me from there. So he's not going all out because he's serving. He's serving me. And we as men and fathers and husbands are serving our children and our spouses and the people in our neighborhoods and communities. And sometimes that means you need to go all out. And sometimes if you have a servant heart and the desire to lead and serve these people effectively, it means that you need to scale back, not to let them win. That's not the purpose of scaling back. It's to let them build up what they need. Maybe it's a skill set or the mental confidence to continue to drive forward. But if all you're doing is dominating, that's an arrogance thing. That's an ego thing. I used to be that way. I used to think this is the way because I'm never going to tank it. And then what am I teaching him? Well, yeah, there's certain, like if I'm coaching my son's baseball team, for example, and we're playing another team, I'm not going to tell my team to hold back, because what am I teaching him? But if we're going together and they're trying to grow and develop, yeah, I'm not gonna crush them. That seems ridiculous to me. It didn't used to, but it does now. As I think I've matured, it's just a level of maturity. All right, Nicholas Bean, what one habit have you incorporated to get right with yourself on the long term and implement incremental change? Daily planning. We've talked about the battle planner quite a bit here in this podcast, and I think we talk about it on every Ask Me Anything. It's the 12-week battle planner. Guys, if there's one thing that you can do to improve your life, it's to carve out 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes tops every single day and do your plan. And I don't care if it's the 12-week battle planner, or we talked about Andy Frisella earlier. I think he has his power list. There's all kinds of programs out there. Or maybe you create your own. But find one that works for you and carve out, again, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes every single day without fail, and you will set yourself up for success. If you're consistent with it, you do it religiously, you follow it, you do your after-action review, you're going to be successful. You'd have a hard time not being successful if that was the thing that you did. All right, Dave and Nicholas knows that because he's in the Iron Council, and that's what we do. That's what we talk about. And it's funny because, and I'm not suggesting Nick thinks this, but a lot of guys will say, well, what else you got? What else? I'm not going to give you anything else because just do that. And if you do that for 90 days, if you do your 12-week battle plan for 90 days and it doesn't work for you, I would be shocked, first of all. That's all I'll say. I'd be shocked. It's going to work. If you follow it to the T for 90 days, you're going to be better off. Sometimes we're always looking for the latest and the greatest and the exciting and everything else. Sometimes you just need to do what you know you need to do. Dave Stewart, what are your thoughts on weed? Lately, I see it everywhere. Everyone posting about it, talking about it, doing it. I have no desire to touch the stuff, but it seems like every single person I see is these days. I don't smoke pot, but I don't think it's conducive to a healthy life. I don't. I think if you're medicating yourself in any capacity, whether it's caffeine consumption, which guys get tapped into that just as bad, or alcohol or pornography or gambling or drug use, I think that's a mistake. I personally want to be clear and level-headed at all times. And frankly, I don't enjoy the way I feel when I was younger. I smoked weed, not a lot, but a little bit. I didn't like being out of control. I didn't like that like weird time thing where I didn't know when I said what. Like it was weird to me. It just didn't feel good. So, I mean, if you want to smoke pot or eat a brownie or whatever, have some edibles, I mean, it's all the power to you, I guess. But for me, it doesn't serve me well. It doesn't push me in the direction I want to go. It's not conducive to the goals that I'm after. Same as alcohol, same as these other things. And so I choose to stay away from them. I choose to avoid them and move towards things that do, like reading and exercising. And now you can do those things if you happen to smoke pot as well. But again, it's just a matter of what works for you. I think we'll see more and more of it as it continues to become more popular, mainstream, and legalized. But I don't think it's good. Now, some people argue, well, it's good for medicinal purposes and it's good for that. Look, if it is, and that's truly the case, and there's scientific research that backs that up, then and you utilize it for that, cool, do that. But if you're using that as an excuse, well, and right? If you just are looking for an excuse or there's a legitimate reason for your drug use. Same thing with prescriptions. Do I take an Advil or a Tylenol? Yeah. Or a painkiller if I'm after a surgery or something? Yeah, of course. Of course I would. But if I'm using it to escape my current reality, okay, that's a problem. So again, I think it's just how you're utilizing it. Roger Taylor, thank you for the guidance and encouragement that helped me to successfully run my first marathon this month and check that accomplishment off my bucket list. Well done, Roger. Awesome. He says next on his list to start the new decade by earning a Spartan trifecta in 2020. It'd be awesome to work with other men who have a similar goal. How would you feel if I created an Order of Man training group on the free Strava fitness app? I actually think there is one, Roger. You can look and search for that, but I think that'd be great. That's no problem at all. And again, I think there is one. So just search for it. And if not, maybe I can create it, and that way we can make sure everybody gets invited and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think men banding together towards common objectives and goals that are worthy and worthwhile is awesome. And I, of course, have no problem with that. But check, it might already be there. Just search for Order of Man, I think is how you do it. Or Iron Council one might be there as well. All right, Brian Lee, what are some of the attitudes you see men fall prey to that have become mainstream and popular for one good reason or the other? Excuse me, not good reason, just one reason or the other. But may actually hold men back from growth or do them more harm than good. Simple. Victimhood. It's the victim mentality. Oh, my wife is this. Oh, my boss is this. Oh, the president this. Oh, the economy's that. Oh, I wasn't raised right. Oh, I have this medical condition. All I see and hear is victimhood and complaining. And the reason that life is so hard is because this person and this situation and this circumstance, it's ridiculous. I've never understood why someone would deliberately and intentionally place themselves in the category of victim. That's a weak position. It's a weak position to choose victim. Now, you might actually be a victim of circumstances. All right, let's get that clear. There might be some circumstances where you truly are the victim. And if that's the case, then resolve to get better. Resolve to make yourself better. Strive to improve your life, improve your capabilities and your capacity so you don't find yourself in that situation anymore. But if you're living in a perpetual state of woe is me and everybody and everything is after me, then you're not going to live the life that you want. Or actually, maybe you are going to live the life that you want. Maybe you're justifying and rationalizing your mediocrity. I can't tell you if you are. Nobody knows for sure, but I think if you really searched your soul, you would know. You would know. He also says examples might be having an attitude of my way or the highway. Great when you are right, really bad when you are wrong. Or that's an arrogance thing, by the way. So that's definitely a trap. Or quote unquote, I am who I am. So if you don't like it, you can go F yourself. Definitely another arrogance thing, right? Because guys will say, well, it's just the way that I am. This is just the way that I communicate. If you don't like it, then tough, Okay, well, maybe in certain circumstances that would work. But if you're trying to rally and inspire and lead other people, shame on you if that's your attitude. because you're a human being, which means that you're capable of learning new skills and developing new language and trying new strategies to lead and inspire other people. And if you're like, this is my way or the highway, you're not going to get people bought into your vision and your goal, and you're not being a leader. You're more likely being a dictator or a tyrant. And that's only going to work for so long before a mutiny is afoot and you find yourself in a bad situation. He also says, with extreme ownership in mind, are men at all responsible for the decline in respect for masculinity due to these types of attitudes? Sure. That's not the only factor, but yeah, of course, because there's men out there who have these types of attitudes. There's certainly a loss of morality in men, generally speaking, and all of that contributes to the way that we are perceived. You know, if one person has a bad experience, whether it's fair or not is irrelevant. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. But if somebody has a bad experience with a man, then they're going to more generally or tend to look at all men as that. So we have a responsibility in this to improve ourselves. And we are. You guys that are listening and tuning in and watching, again, I'm getting emails and responses from you, and they're uplifting, and it's edifying, and it's inspiring, and it's very cool to see that you're taking responsibility for it. And there's a select few of people in the Facebook group and around who, rather than lifting themselves up and taking at least some responsibility, some ownership, not all of it, but at least doing what they can do, instead they choose to say society is out to get me, and I'm not doing this anymore, and screw everybody else. And of course, that attitude is, well, it's a bad attitude, but it's not going to help you win. It's not what men do. Men take responsibility. I hear a lot of guys who will say things like, well, society's rejected, so I'm just rejecting all of society. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Live like a hermit? Like, are you going to seal yourself in a bunker for the rest of your life? Like how do you anticipate living and operating in society as this hermit, somebody who's completely enclosed themselves and closed themselves off to the goodness of other people, the tremendous opportunities that we have? Are there some things that need to be worked on? Yeah, you bet. I mean, the family court system is one that comes to mind. And some guys will say, well, screw that. I'm not doing that. Like, there's nothing I can do, and it's not my responsibility. Okay, well, if that's the attitude that you want to have, then expect much of the same. I think it's a battle worth fighting for, which is why we're doing Order of Man. I think reclaiming and restoring masculinity and us stepping up as the men that we're capable of becoming is a worthy cause. And that's why I've been doing it for 5 years. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. And that's why I'm trying to enlist more men into what we're doing. So yes, we have a part to play and we have some responsibility to bear. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because if we have a part to play, it means we can fix that part of it. We can rectify that part of it. We can improve that situation collectively. We can do it together. But if all we think is that the world is out to get us and there's nothing we can do about it, then nothing changes. In fact, it only gets worse. And I think it's moving that direction. And so I wish more men were enlisted in the responsibility of reclaiming and restoring masculinity. I mean, we see some horrific and ridiculous things out there of what, there's that magazine, GQ, that they just came out with called The New Masculinity, as if there's some new version of masculinity that's going to be more effective than the masculinity that served mankind for tens of thousands of years. It's ridiculous. And what's being taught in the school system and this gender dysphoria and the confusion about what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, and this push to make men more feminine and women more masculine, and the transgender thing with sports. I mean, this stuff is permeating every fabric of society, and we can reject it and dismiss it and go crawl and slink away into some corner and just like live our life, I guess. But it's not good. It's not good. So I'm going to be engaged and take the responsibility that I can, that I own, that I should have, and do something about it, which is what Order of Man is all about. Whew, guys, got through all the questions today in less than an hour. I know it wasn't as funny because Kip wasn't here. He's the comedic relief. I tend to be a little bit more serious. I understand that of myself, and I've come to terms with that. Anyways, that's all I've got. Guys, I really appreciate you listening in. I hope that I was able to answer some of the questions that you had, and that you're walking away with some new thoughts, some new perspectives and ideas about some of these questions and more. We'll be back, of course, on Friday for our Friday field notes. If you're interested in asking these questions, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Order of Man. Join the Iron Council, orderofman.com/Iron Council. If you're interested in some merchandise, great way to support what we're doing here and look good in the process, then you can go to store.orderofman.com. I think that's it. We've got, I want to say we've got 5 spots left for our main event, which is May 29th through the 31st, 2020. You can go to orderofman.com/main event. I think that's it. All right, guys, we're going to call it a day. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate you being on this path. If you would, do this. Share, okay? Share. That's what I need you to do. I just did a little monologue riff about why it's so important we engage in this battle of reclaiming and restoring masculinity. I ask, as I continue to put this content out, I ask that you continue to share it with friends and brothers and colleagues and coworkers and other men who we need to enlist in this battle. We need to get them to our side, not general society's side. Okay, so do that, please. Also, check us out on YouTube if you're not already. I think we're at 81,000 subscribers, and we are making a push to get to 100,000 subscribers. So please go there and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me as well. And of course, you get to see my smiling face. All right, guys, that's all I've got. Go out there, take action, become the man you are meant to be.